Okay, so we're back. Just before I get started with the next part, I wanted to remind everyone that the next session in this series is in 2 weeks, and we'll be going over the new features that we've got coming in 2024. So that's there's some features that are robot side, and then some features that are the website side. So we'll talk about some of the operational stuff there about the new features that you'll be getting on the robots. So yeah, I'd like to open it up to anyone that might have a question. If you'd like to raise the hand, I think I should see it. Okay, we have one there. Okay, Pavel, I think you have to unmute as well. Yeah, so I should be able to hear you.
Okay. Hi, I have the question because you show on the presentation the best form of obstacle is the round.
Yes.
We do that, and the program have problem with calculate road if it's the road because the round have lot of point, and it was the problem. We sent that project to you, and we send that on the May, and we still don't have answer what's going on. So
Okay.
you are it is true that the best is the round, or it's some maybe it's too much points. How it looks? What is the maximum points of the obstacle?
Yeah. So maximum points. Okay, so I show it as round here because round is good, but if you, as you say, if you get too many points, so if you're, I mean, if there's more than 20 points there, then you've probably gone too many points. So if it was between 10 and 20, that would be okay. And it depends where the obstacle is. So if the obstacle is in the middle of the field, and you're going to be driving past it in a straight line, then I would kind of recommend you kind of oblong out the obstacle. Again, with kind of pointies at the edge, but straight in the direction that you're driving past it. Whereas if it's kind of on the edge of the field, if it's between where the rows end and kind of where your turning areas are, your headland areas are, then it's always going to be a kind of a problem there, because then we've got to be able to drive around it in multiple directions. So a circle would probably be best. As you say, you raised that point with us earlier this season, and we actually have had quite a lot of work here over the winter. So hopefully, in the next release, we've been handling obstacles better. So hopefully, when you're creating your plans for next season, you should be able to go around these obstacles better. Yeah, the planner should handle them better.
Yeah, okay, because we have this. It was 3 obstacle on the center of the field, and he can generate the road for. If was that, we do only 4 points, so it was quarter, and was better, not perfect, but better.
Yeah, yeah. As I say, if it is kind of if it's in the middle of the field, then yeah, doing it aligned with the driving direction will give a better result. Yeah, obstacles are tricky. If we could have fields without obstacles, everything would be easier. But yeah, we've been working on it a lot here over the winter. I know we're able to drive closer to obstacles than now. In the past, it's been you drive quite far around the obstacle as well. Maybe if like over 2 or 3 rows when you're driving around it. But we're actually driving a half a meter closer than we have done in the past. So yeah, you'll be getting that new update out soon, and hopefully, yeah, better luck in the coming season. But yeah,
okay,
Tom,
we will be tested.
Brilliant. Yeah, you should be able to. Yeah, Tom, you should be able to unmute now.
Ah, great. I can do it now. Hi. One of my questions I have is for irrigation passes. So leaving a gap in the plan that is not the same distance as one row.
Yeah.
So for example, if you were working with a 2-meter row and you had 10 passes, 10 rows at 2 meters, and now you need to leave a gap of 2.5 meters and then do 10 more passes. Is that possible?
Yeah, so for that, I would use the fixed row creator. If I can just boot it up here. Bear with me just a second. So then if I choose the fixed row creator, and then I can choose the west edge of the field just to show you. So here you can create your rows where you need them. So the distance between the rows, that's your working width. I think you said it was, say, 2 meters, and then you can create 5, and it creates those 5 rows. And then the next one, you want to do 2.5 and 1. So then that jumps, and then the 2 meters, you want another 4 because you've already done the first one. It creates the next ones, and then again 2.5, 1. So you can go ahead and create the pattern like that. That's kind of laborious for big fields, but that's kind of the best option that we've got so far.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I've got one more question about headlands.
Sure.
Is it possible to, using the field you have an example there, if you wanted to use 0-10 headlands, but only 3 headlands instead of 4, is that a possibility?
Yes. If it allows you to, if there's room, I guess. I've got kind of a small implement on this one. So it might complain, but it should be fine.
Sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant, for example, there on your east edge, if you didn't want to drive that headland, but you wanted to do the north, west, and south.
Oh, I understand. So in that case, what I would do is you need a transit row. You need to create an AB line. Where have we gone now? You need an AB line that goes around the 3 edges of the field. And then if you go into your transit rows and create a transit row, and then if you want to, say, I don't know, 5 meters from the edge of the field. And then it's not going to want to do that. And your west edge. So in this way, then you've got your transit row that's going around 3 edges, and you've got your work rows going across. Is that what you wanted? Or do you want them to be headlands as in being worked?
That's pretty much correct, but where you've got the turning areas, if that was to be worked as a headland, but the mainland there is correct.
Yeah, then you can't actually do it all in one. I mean, I would do that as headland plans, because that's pretty much right. Like, I know you don't want, but these side is working. But if you wanted to create it with the transit row that's going around, you'd have to then create a second plan for the headland, for the part specified as transit row, where you then create a turning area plan, I guess, with this one, and only select the outside 3. And in that way, you can do it, but you'd have to do it as 2 separate plans. You couldn't do them all in one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, hope that helps. So yeah, when you're doing these kind of curved roads, then you can actually put just one edge as a transit row. What it won't do is it won't do 0 turns here, because it doesn't do 0 turns in the middle of rows. So it would only do kind of a normal type of turn here. That's something that you should be aware of. It would only do 0 turns in the corners if you had it as a headland plan with 0 turn corners. Cool. Any other questions?
I have one more that's more of a request than a question, because I don't think, I know it's not possible at the moment, but I think it would be a hugely beneficial feature, would be that if we could simulate the individual crop rows as well as the row body paths, because at the moment when you see the plan, you can see where the row body is driving. If you were, for example, seeding 4 rows per pass, if you were able to simulate those, because we already know where they're going to be, that would be really helpful in visualizing the plan, discussing it with customers, and understanding if that's really how they want to create the field. So especially when you see how a headland pass that is a very similar direction to an AB line, how they match up, and where the rows meet.
Not 100% sure I understand. So, can I just?
So it's more of a request where for each of the passes that you have, okay, there's one line, but it's and that's the center where the robot is driving. We were able to see, for example, if each of those passes you were seeding 4 rows, if you were able to view those and see where the seed lines are going. I know it's different to what's possible now, but just a bit of feedback that would be a feature that I would definitely use a lot to discuss with the customers as they're using it and when they're creating the field plans to get the most out of the field.
Okay, and I will say then, as a slight spoiler for next week, or for next time, sorry, we have a new feature for 2024, which is this play button, so you can simulate the plan. I'll be introducing this next time. So when you press play, you see the robot driving the plan as it would be, and this coverage is then the coverage of the implement, similar to what we're used to when we're seeing it in a live view. So it's kind of easier to see how the robot will be actually driving. Is it this kind of thing that you were wanting, or are you meaning the actual rows of the?
That's really exciting and that's great, but if we were able to take it one step further and have the individual rows behind there, that would be very useful. I think one of the challenges that I've found is if you were to have a full headland around that field, and it was not perfectly parallel for the AB line to the headland, sometimes you spend half of the last row running down the headland crop with your wheel, and it would be good to understand where that is to destroy less rows with the robot when you're driving. But just visualizing it with that is really great.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, with this as well, you can skip ahead to the end. But yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, because when you're creating the plan and you have the field layout, then you can see where kind of the rows overlap the headland. But yeah, you don't necessarily know where the actual physical wheels of the robot are. Yeah, I get that. Great. Do we have any more questions? Okay. So as I mentioned before, I did have kind of some examples that I wanted to go through, and to show you some of the features in action. What I actually showed there with the request that Tom made actually covered a lot of what I was planning to show. So that was actually quite good questions. But since we don't have any other questions, I'll kind of go through it again. So I wanted to show how I create some things. So on this field, I have just a normal. I want to create normal tuning areas and do short beds with a 9-meter width. So here I'm creating all my rows from my AB line in 9-meter headlands. So I wanted to do that and then save all of these rows as fixed rows. And I also wanted to save them as beds, so I can show the difference. So then, if I was doing, say, sorry, that was wrong. If I do a 12-meter. Then if I change this to 9 meters and I chose my fixed rows, 9 meter. So as you can see here, the fixed rows that I have don't actually reach the turning areas because there's 3 meters between there. But they will then be extended so that they do actually reach. In that way, you can see that with fixed rows, you're kind of just specifying the row, you're not specifying the start and end points. Whereas with beds, you would actually be specifying the end and start and end points. And then if I wanted to do a work area on top of that, so if I wanted to actually select where the work stopped, if I do a work area here, one cool feature we have with doing these work areas is that you can actually put in the exact coordinates for the corners. So if you've recorded the corners, either with the robot or with another GPS, you can specify the corners so you can get the work areas to be exactly the right size. Here I recorded the work area. So now I could have my work area here, so it won't work the end of the row. So it's quite a nice way to be able to specify where you want the work to start and end. Of course, please, if anyone realizes they have a question, they're welcome to raise their hand, and I'll try and answer. So if we've got the work areas there, we can specify that we only want it to work and not work right to the edge. I also wanted to show how I created the transit rows. I think I kind of brushed over this already. So if I want to create another one, say 5 meters from that edge. Select the other edge, and also 5 meters from there. Then I choose my beds. And I'll put work area so you can see what's going on. So here you can see that the beds are being worked into the transit rows because, as I said before, the beds, you're specifying the start and end point of the row. So it's always going to work to the start and the end point of that row, even if that's into a transit row. So you're still getting kind of your good control over where the robot's going to drive when it's going in between the rows, and you're getting your good control over where it's going to stop working. So this is kind of the most control you can have over the plan. If you really want to be over control, well controlling of the of how it starts and stops at the end of the row and where it drives in between, then you're going to be using beds and transit rows. If we create this plan. We'll just wait for that one to create. One thing I haven't really touched on is the warnings that we sometimes get. So most of the things that I've been creating there are well within the realms of what the planner was designed to do. But if you try and really push it, for instance, here if I say I only want a 7 meter headland or something. Then I'm going to get a warning. Here, the warning is that the turning area is too narrow and it might be hard to navigate the field optimally. And it suggests increasing it to 8.6 meters. Now, as it says, it's going to be hard for it to create a plan. That doesn't mean it can't create the plan. It just might be more difficult to create it. So then it depends on what other specifications you've made on the plan. If you've set directions on rows, if you've said it has to go row by row and it can't go optimized, all these things are just going to make it harder for the planner. And again, it probably will be able to make the plan, but it might make the plan such that it has to drive over a lot of the rows many times. So you're welcome to go ahead and create the plan, but it's worth taking note of these. So if it is possible to increase the turning area width, then that would probably be a good idea. And again, if it is possible to increase this distance, I always do that as well, just to give the robot some extra breathing room towards the edge of the field. But again, I know in real life that that fields are what fields are, so you often can't. But it is worth just reading those warnings to see if there is anything, because perhaps it doesn't matter if it's 7 meters or 8.6. Yeah. Fine, create. Yeah. So I wanted to show kind of these. It's kind of hard to show what I'm showing, but just to hear that the beds go out. I always make sure it works the ends of the beds and then drives along the turning areas that we specified them. One other thing I might be able to show, my simulations are running. So I'm sure most of you have seen by now, we've had a slight redesign here on the front page here. So it's just mostly cosmetic, but you see the name of the plan, name of the field, and the operator. This is the operator that's logged on to the robot when they're about to start the plan. So if you have multiple people who might be running your robots, then you know who's driving it at this precise time. Over here, you get the progress bar, which shows you how far you are with the plan, and the time remaining, and the area covered. This has only just started out here. Yeah, so here we're seeing, and this is kind of moving in a more fluid way now than it used to. It used to take big lumps, but now it's more moving in a more fluid way. But you can see how much time is remaining and how much time we've had. I think if we don't have any more questions, oh, I can see Tom's raised your hand again.
Sorry, I've got one example of a plan on my other screen with an example of a small issue. I wondered if you could explain how you would better go about planning it to remove it for the future.
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay, yeah. Could you give me access to share?
I would love to.
Okay.
I think you have access now.
Yeah, it's just loading. Can you see it?
Yes.
So in this plan, it's using 5 headland passes. It's working the whole field. It's using 0-turn headlands. And one of the issue is this pass here. Right. That's been missed. There clearly wasn't enough space to fit in another full pass, but it's left the gap here in the middle of the field. So that's an area where when we're doing weeding operations, the weeds are generated and we can't remove, but we still want to complete the full field. Is there a better way to avoid this and maybe have this part of the headland come closer so this gap is on the edge of the field rather than in the middle when it's running that way? So the rest of the field is fine, but that's a kind of real world issue. That's something that would be nice to fix in the planning stage.
Yeah. So the AB line you're using,
Optimized.
optimized.
I think so. Yes.
Then I'm guessing you had a different implement selected than this one when you chose to do the optimization. Otherwise, it would have, because it's just slightly offset. So what I would do is I would create the AB line again against that edge of the field, if possible, because yeah, it shouldn't do that.
I just detail query detail. Yeah. So that's just the way I label my optimized one. So that was optimized. So you're saying that if you start off with the right implement, all of the implements have been the same size for this operation in the field, that would change it.
Yeah, because the implement robot combination is going to slightly shift the how far you have to drive, how close you can get to drive to the side of the field, what we call the safety distance. So what it looks like has happened there, now you've chosen a different implement robot combination. I'm not too sure which it is. It can actually push the headlands out a bit further, and then it's created that gap.
So I've just clicked on edit plan so I can see what was actually there. And if I zoom in, it's this. Okay, this is a better example of the issue. So I must have deselected the row. But it's understanding that gap there is. So I've deselected this row. Yeah. So that we don't have overlap, because when we're weeding, if the overlap doesn't match up perfectly, you either you destroy rows on both passes. Absolutely. Or I've opted for the gap. What would be more beneficial there is to not have that row, but have the headland match up with the next available row possible. Does that make more sense now? Sorry, I just found it. I didn't remember exactly how I'd created this at the time. Yeah. What I would do is I'd create a new AB line. Not using the optimal, but specifying that I want to be parallel to the edge of the field. Just to check that that's how that's working. The other way to do it would be to shift. Under advanced options, you've got the option to shift the AB line, but then you need to make that judgment of what that is. It looks like it's half a working width to me. But unless it's exactly half a working width, that does make a difference. Yeah, and absolutely. If what am I trying to say? If the headland here is not straight, it was curved, but you needed to have a straight mainland work because you don't want wiggly lines going up and down your field. How would you then manage it? Yeah, that's the big question. Then it's working out. Because if the side of your field is wiggly, but you want a straight line in the field, where do you want to miss out? Do you want to miss out on the edge of the field, or do you want to miss out in the middle of the field? If you want to miss out on the edge of the field, then you need to straighten that field up. If you edit the field and straighten that edge out, then you're going to miss working up to the edge of the field, but you're going to get straight lines across it. Okay, and then let's say, sorry, one more, because let's say you have a square field, but it is not divisible by the number of rows there. On one side or the other, you're going to have an overlap with the headlands, or not an overlap, or a gap. Is there a way that the headland areas can move to match up with the mainland work? Okay. No. The headlands are always the headlands are always pushed out as far as they can be. Okay. That's definitely an issue there, because you're always going to end up, unless you've got a perfect field, with an overlap on one side or a gap on one side, and it would be better to have that gap on the edge of the field rather than in the middle. Yeah, I get that. You could adjust the safety distance as well. But that would be all the way around the field. So if you under advanced options, you've got the
the safety distance edge, the distance edge of the field, and you could increase that, and then kind of trial and error it to see what you end up with.
Yeah, so okay, yeah, I can see that's made a difference.
But that's going to be all the way around the field.
Yeah, that's just, I suppose, more feedback, because with fields like this, okay, we can have the gaps here a little bit, and have the overlap. That's acceptable. But if you had a square field, you're always going to end up with either a wider boundary around the field when that is only necessary for it to be on one edge.
Yeah, but that's that's just always going to happen. And it's how much you want to utilize the field where you want that overlap to be.
Okay.
But I would say in that specific case, maybe shifting the AB line, maybe creating a new AB line, and you can kind of play around with it at that stage, because as you say, you can see that it's overlapping, and it might be a bit of working to get it where you need it to be.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. But you might have just said, "Oh no, you need to do this." So I wanted just to double check.
No problem. So, any other questions before we wrap it up for today? Also, feel free to, if you do have any questions about the planner, you're free to bring them up next time as well. It was very good that Tom has some examples of his own fields that he kind of had ready. So if anyone else finds that they have questions in the next few weeks, then they're welcome to kind of make a note of them, and we can go through them like this after the next session as well. Okay, well then I'd like to thank you all very much for your time this afternoon. I hope that you've got something out of it, that perhaps we've kind of added more depth to what the planner can do, and given you some more ideas about how we can use the robot. Yeah, I hope this kind of group of online sessions we've got over the next 12 weeks are gonna give insight into all the different things we've got coming up, and I hope we all have a great 2024 season. Someone just asked where the recordings are going to be available. Since you've accessed the chat, since you've accessed this meeting, they're going to be available in the chat, but we'll also be putting them up on the website. I'm sure you all know, on the website, under tutorials, you can see a number of tutorial videos that I've made about how to do different things with the website. Whenever we release a new feature, we try to create a video for it here, to highlight what it might be. That's actually another new feature that we had in this season. Every time you log on the website, if there's been new features released since last time you logged on the website, you get a pop-up that says that there's new features. Often when you go on the website, you're in a hurry to create plans or do something, so you just click OK and go by. But if you go under, I think, your user account, and you can see here view feature updates, and you can see these are all the features that we kind of released towards the end of last year. All of them have a small piece of writing and then a link to a video. So when I'm releasing kind of small features during the season, we try to put a tutorial up to kind of show you what to do. So yeah, hope this all helps, and hope see you all next time on, I think the next session is the 24th of January, where we'll be talking about all the new things we've got planned. Okay, thank you.